Good morning, class 10th. Welcome to your history and civics class. We are doing lesson number 1, the First War of Independence, which is also known as the Great Uprising of 1857. Let us first see the objectives that we have done in our previous class. Causes of the Great Uprising of 1857. Political causes, in which we have studied about discontent of the ruling sections, disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah Zafar, ill treatment of Nana Sahib and Rani of Jhansi, and annexation of Awadh. Today, we will study about two more causes. Number 1, social and religious causes, and number 2, economic causes. But before doing that, children, I would like you to give the answers of all these cross questions. Number 1, list any two political causes of the Great Uprising of 1857. Number 2, by what other name is India's first war of independence known as? Number 3, name the policy of annexation followed by Lord Dalhousie. Number 4, give reasons as to why Nana Sahib was angry with the British. And last, what do you mean by the term mutiny? Few important terms that we will learn in our today's class. Number 1, customs. Custom means something that many people do and have done for a long time. Number 2, sati, a formal practice whereby a widow threw herself onto her husband's funeral pyre. Convert, a person who has been persuaded to change their religious faith or other belief. Rituals, a religious ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. Missionaries, a person sent on a religious mission, especially one sent to promote Christianity in a foreign country. Racial discrimination, discrimination against any individual on the basis of their skin color or racial or ethnic origin. Alienated, experiencing or inducing feelings of isolation. Inherit, to receive money, property, or a title as an heir at the death of the previous holder. Some of the social reforms introduced by the British in India were aimed at improving the conditions of the people. However, while introducing such reforms, the feelings of the people were not taken into consideration. One of the major reasons for the revolt was social religious policies of the British, which included racial superiority and discrimination, missionary activities, and deliberate efforts to subvert the religious beliefs of the people in India. Christianity arose in India as the Britishers had been established there. So there were many Hindus who transformed themselves into Christians. This hurt the Hindus as they left their own natural caste. Many activities of the Christian missionaries and that of the government created panic among the masses that they would all be converted to Christianity, such as the teaching of the Christian doctrine was made compulsory in the schools set up by the Christian missionaries. The officials openly preached the Christian doctrine in mosques and temples. The Missionary Society of America established a press at Agra for the propaganda against the Hindu religion. The missionaries openly and everywhere condemned the Hindu scriptures, idol worship, and Hindu and Muslim doctrines and customs. They were active in some of the tribal areas and sometimes created hostile feelings among the tribes by disturbing their social, cultural, and economic lives. Many temptations were offered to make conversion by giving the Indians bribes, promotions, and rewards. The study of Bible was introduced in the government schools. Prisoners in jails were instructed in Christianity. Police force was used for converting people to Christianity. The missionaries established chapel and churches for the propagation of Christianity. A Christian priest was maintained in the army. Orphans and victims of calamities were often converted to Christianity. Land belonging to temples or mosques was taxed. Also, the abolition of certain reforms such as sati pratha, child marriage, etc. was introduced. This hurt the Hindu sentiments and they thought that the Britishers were removing the Hindu caste and disregarding their religion. For instance, Lord William Bentinck became the Governor General of India in 1828. He helped Raja Ram Mohan Roy to suppress many prevalent social events like sati, polygamy, which means having more than one wife at a time, child marriage, and female infanticide. To protect what it considered family honor and family property, upper caste Hindu society had long disallowed the remarriage of widows. The Hindu Widows Remarriage Act of 1856 provided legal safeguards against loss of certain forms of inheritance for remarrying a Hindu widow. So, all these activities created a kind of discontentment and distrust among the people against the British rule. It seemed to the people that their social religious customs that they cherished and held sacred were being destroyed by the British. This created a kind of discontentment and distrust among the people against the British rule. Children, now we will do the reading on page number 66 of your book. Social and religious causes. The British government's attempt to interfere in the social and religious life of the Indians led to the widespread fear among the masses. Number 1. Interference with social customs. The British openly interfered with the social and religious customs of the Indians. Ignoring the sentiments of the people, the government passed laws aiming at improving the conditions of people. The 1829 Act abolishing sati was regarded as an undue interference in the religion of the Indians. The two laws of 1832 and 1850, which permitted the Christian convert to inherit property, became very unpopular. The latter was particularly offensive to the Indians as a convert could inherit the property without performing the rituals. Rituals, a religious ceremony consisting of series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. The Widow Remarriage Act of 1856 offended the Indians and it was regarded as an infringement on their religious sentiments. Infringement means the action of breaking the terms of a law. Number 2. Activities of missionaries. A missionary is a person sent on a religious mission, especially one sent to promote Christianity in a foreign country. The British encouraged the Christian missionaries from Europe to spread Christianity in India and to translate the Bible into the Indian languages. These missionaries often condemned Hindu and Muslim customs as outdated. Condemn means to declare to be wrong, hurting the sentiments of both the communities. The missionaries opened schools to spread English education where the Christian religion was also taught. The religious sentiments of the people were further hurt when a tax was imposed on property held by temples and mosques. Apprehensions about the modern innovations. The introduction of railways had created suspicion and fear in the minds of the people. They thought that these measures were introduced to propagate Christianity. It also meant that the people from lower caste, including the so-called untouchables, would sit in the same compartment and buy their tickets from the same window as people of the superior castes, including the Brahmins. The orthodox section considered it an attempt to interfere in the caste structure of its society, and there was also a rumor that telegraph poles would be used for hanging people who were reluctant to embrace Christianity, and railway tracks would be used to throw people in the front of the railway engines and trains who were against the company's rule. Thus, the modern innovations threatened the old social order and created unrest among the people. Fear of English education. Christian missionaries and government schools introduced the teaching of English in their institutions, particularly after 1833 AD. This implied the shifting of emphasis from Oriental learning, which means Persian, Sanskrit, Arabic, and Urdu, to Western learning. The Pandits and Maulvis resented this change as they saw in it an attempt to discourage the study of Islamic and Hindu literatures. The new schools provided education to all, irrespective of caste and religion. This was not liked by the orthodox and the upper class Hindus. Even in 1829, the Bengal government established an English class in the Calcutta Madrasa, which was a Muslim institution. Later, English classes were introduced in Benares Sanskrit College. People started suspecting that the aim of Western education was not to promote literature and sciences, but to encourage their children to become Christians. Next point, policy of racial discrimination. The British officers were rude and arrogant towards the Indians. They believed that they were superior to Indians and followed a policy of contempt towards the Indians. They dubbed the Muslims as cruel and unfaithful. Some European officers ill treated and insulted Indians. They could even kill them without fear of punishment under law. The Indians were supposed to salute an Englishman or dismount from their horse till the Englishman passed from the sight. The British believed in social superiority and maintaining social distance to preserve their authority over the Indians. Special railway compartments, parks, hotels, and clubs were reserved for Europeans only. According to historian R.C. Majumdar, even Raja Ram Mohan Roy was insulted for not observing the mentioned practice. Such type of undignified treatment of the Indians at the hands of the English rulers amounted to the adding of insult to injury. It hurt the self-respect of the Indians. Corruption in administration and oppression of the poor. The police and petty officials were corrupt. The rich got away with crime, but the common man was looted, oppressed, and tortured. The complex judicial system enabled the rich to oppress the poor. Flogging, torture, and imprisonment of cultivators for their inability to pay rent, land revenue, and interest on debt were quite common. Thus, the growing poverty made the poor desperate and led them to join a general uprising in the hope of improving their lot. Children, now let us do the reading from page 67 of your book. Point number 3, other factors. People were suspicious of introduction of modern innovations like railways and telegraphs. There were rumors that telegraph poles were erected to hang those who were against the British rule. Similarly, Orthodox Indians. Orthodox means following or conforming to the traditional or generally accepted rules or beliefs of a religion. So, Orthodox Indians noted that in the railway compartments, the higher castes and the lower castes were made to sit side by side. The shifting of emphasis from Oriental learning to Western education was not received well by the people, especially the Pandits and the Maulvis. Oriental learning is the academic field of study that embraces Near Eastern and Far Eastern societies, their cultures and languages. And Maulvi is a learned teacher of Islamic law. They saw it an attempt to discourage traditional Islamic and Hindu studies. People started suspecting that the aim of Western education was not to promote literature and sciences, but to encourage children to become Christians. Next point, children. The policy of racial discrimination made the English believe that they belonged to a ruling class and had a feeling of superiority. They looked down upon Indians and treated them with arrogance and often insulted them. Such acts of unjust discrimination alienated the British from the Indian masses. Children, the meaning of alienated: experiencing or inducing feeling of isolation. Economic causes, or we can also say economic exploitation of India. British economic policies in India worked against the interest of Indian trade and industry and thus ruined her financially. The economic exploitation of Indians and the drainage of the Indian wealth to England became a potent cause of the uprising of the revolt of 1857. The ruin of Indian trade and handicrafts. Before the arrival of the Britishers, India was the leading exporter of cotton textile, but at the beginning of the 19th century, its share started declining. An act passed by British government in 1720 prohibited the use of Indian silk in England. In 1811 till 12, the share of cotton textile and silk was about 33%, which fell down to 3% in 1850 till 51. The anti-Indian British policies were responsible for this. They imposed heavy export duty on silk and cotton textile. British goods were imported into India without any duty or at a very nominal duty. British manufacturers flooded the Indian market with machine-made goods. Indian weavers and producers failed to compete with them. Indian traders also suffered at the hands of the British traders. The British traders got many privileges and facilities as compared to the Indian traders. As a result of the anti Indian economic policies of the British, the art of spinning and weaving, which employed thousands of workers in India, became extinct. Manufacturing towns of Dhaka, Murshidabad, and Surat became desolate. The British industrialists saw a rich source in India to provide them with raw materials for their industries. Bengal, Bihar, and Awadh became major producers of export crops such as jute, indigo, cotton, and oilseeds. The English traders in India controlled the export trade. Only such crops as were required in England were allowed to be produced in India. Thus, India was converted into an agricultural colony of England, and her own agro industries were ruined under a well planned British policy. A new plantation system introduced in 1833 brought incalculable misery for the Indian peasants. Indigo was required by cloth manufacturers to dye cloth. As the indigo trade grew, commercial agents and officials of the company began investing in indigo production. They forced the peasants to produce only indigo. The condition of indigo cultivators was miserable. Peasants who were initially tempted by the loans soon realized how harsh the system was. The price they got for the indigo they produced was very low, and the cycle of loans never ended. Page number 67. Now let us do the reading from the book. Economic causes. The economic policies of the British resulted in impoverishing all the segments of Indian society except a handful of collaborators among the Indians. Impoverishing means the condition of being or becoming very poor, and collaborators means co partners. Point number 1. Exploitation of economic resources of India. The East India Company reduced agricultural India to an economic colony to serve the interest of industrial England. The company purchased textiles, indigo, the dark blue dye obtained from the indigo plant, spices, and food grains from India, and sold them abroad at exorbitant prices. By buying and exporting Indian goods, the company encouraged their production in India. But gradually, Indian textile began to compete with the textiles manufactured in England. The British put pressure on the East India Company to forbid the sale of Indian textiles in England. It put restriction on the import of Indian textiles, imposing heavy import duties on such goods. Point number 2. Subordination of Indian industry. Subordination means placed in or occupying a lower class, rank, or position. After the Industrial Revolution in England, Industrial Revolution is the period in history when there was a large and rapid change in the ways things were made. This meant that instead of things being handmade in small workshops, they were made more cheaply in large quantities by machines in the factories. So, after the Industrial Revolution in England developed its own textile industry, this affected the textile industry in India. Goods manufactured in India were subjected to high import duties in England. Secondly, the company purchased raw cotton and jute from India at cheaper rate for factories in England. Soon, India became a country supplying raw materials to England. The British manufactured finished goods from Indian raw materials and exported them back to India, making enormous profit. Gradually, India became an economic colony of industrial England. India became an importer of British made goods. On the other hand, export of raw materials and food grains deprived India of her agricultural surplus and raised the prices of raw materials. Thus, the change in the nature of India's trade became an instrument for exploiting India's resources. Point number 3. Collapse of Indian handicrafts. Collapse means suddenly fall down, and handicrafts are the decorative domestic objects made by hand. As a result of the British policy of making India a raw material producing country, Indian handicrafts and cottage industries died out. Important industrial towns such as Dhaka and Surat declined. Heavy duties on Indian silk and cotton textiles in Britain destroyed Indian industries. Thousands of craftsmen and artisans were thrown out of employment. Artisans, a worker in a skilled trade, especially one that involves making things by hand. The manufacturers of silk and cotton goods got no profits from their work and began to look for other means of livelihood. The misery of the artisans were further compounded by the disappearance of their traditional patrons. Patron is a person who gives financial support to a person, organization, or a cause. And buyers, the princes, chieftains, and zamindars. Drain of wealth. Battle of Plassey was the major reason for the consolidation of the British rule in India. This battle was fought between the East India Company headed by Robert Clive and the Nawab of Bengal Sirajuddaulah and his French troop. Till the Battle of Plassey, the European traders used to bring gold into India to buy Indian cotton and silk. However, after the conquest of Bengal, the British stopped getting gold into India. They began to purchase raw material for their industries in England from the surplus revenue of Bengal and profits from the duty-free inland trade. Thus began the process of plundering India's raw materials, resources and wealth by Britain. The transfer of wealth from India to England, for which India got no proportionate economic return, is called the drain of wealth. The English company and her officials carried away India's wealth to England in several ways, such as number 1, the company paid 400 lakhs annually to the British government in England under the law of the British Parliament passed in 1767 AD. Number 2, by paying high salaries to the British officials in civil and military administration, both in British and princely India. They sent a large proportion of their salaries home as savings. Number 3, by requiring the Indian princely states to pay a heavy cost for maintaining the company's forces and the residents in their areas. Number 4, the company officials collected huge wealth through interest on debts, bribes and gifts from the Indian rulers, businessmen and others, which they carried away with them on return to England. Children, in this way, India was impoverished by the British. Page number 68. Now let us do the reading. Point number 4, drain of wealth. The transfer of wealth from India to England, for which India got no proportionate income return, is called the drain of wealth. Till the Battle of Plassey, the European traders used to bring gold into India to buy Indian cotton and silk. However, after the conquest of Bengal, the British stopped sending gold to India. They began to purchase raw materials for their industries in England from the surplus revenues of Bengal and profits from duty-free inland trade. Inland trade refers to concerning or located in the interior of a country or region away from a sea or border. Thus began the process of plundering India's raw material, resources, and wealth by Britain. Plundering means to steal goods from a place or a person. The drain also included the salaries, incomes and savings of Englishmen, the British expenditure in India on the purchase of military goods, office establishment, interest on debts, unnecessary expenditure on the army, etc. Regarding the British exploitation, John Sullivan, President of the Board of Revenue Madras, aptly remarked, aptly means appropriately, our system acts very much like a sponge, drawing up all good things from the banks of the Ganges and squeezing them down on the banks of the Thames. Children, the Thames is the longest river in England. Loss of employment. Lakhs of artisans and craftsmen lost their livelihood due to the ruin of their industries, which was the result of British export-import policies. Annexation of Awadh and other princely states rendered their soldiers jobless because they were disbanded by the British. With the introduction of English education, thousands of Pandits and Maulvis lost their work and thousands of others feared losing work in the near future. This fear also contributed substantially towards the anti-British sentiments. Moreover, many Indians felt that the company was asking for heavy tax from the locals. This included an increase in the taxation on land. The resumption of tax-free land and confiscation of jagirs, which means the grant or right to locally control land revenue, caused discontent among the jagirdars and zamindars. Lord Dalhousie had also appointed Inam Commission with powers to confiscate land. Several years before the Sepoys' mutiny, Lord William Bentinck had attacked several jagirs in western Bengal. He also resumed the practice of tax-free lands in some areas. These changes caused widespread resentment not only among the landed aristocracy but also caused great havoc to a larger section of the middle class people. Lands were confiscated from the landlords and auctioned. Rich people like the merchants and moneylenders were therefore able to speculate in British land sales and drive out the most vulnerable peasants farmer. Page number 68, point number 5, unemployment among the people. Due to Dalhousie's policy of indiscriminate annexation of the native states, annexation means expansion of the territory, many Indians lost their jobs. After the annexation of Oudh, the army was disbanded. Disbanded means break up. The soldiers lost their livelihood. They turned out to be bitter enemies of the foreign rule in India. They became the avowed enemies of the English and joined the revolt. Avowed means openly acknowledged. Educated Indians became jobless. They were excluded from high posts. Their lot became miserable and they felt discontented. Lot means a large number. Point number 6, resumption of tax free lands. Resumption means the action of beginning something again after a pause or interruption. The resumption of tax-free land and confiscation of jagirs caused discontent among the jagirdars and zamindars. Confiscation means the action of taking or seizing someone's property with authority, and jagir is a Persian word which means holding land. And the person who holds the land is called jagirdar. Lord William Bentinck had attached several jagirs in Bengal. As a result, the Indian aristocracy was reduced to utter poverty. Aristocracy, the highest class in certain societies, typically comprising people of noble birth holding hereditary titles and offices. Lord Dalhousie had also confiscated jagirs belonging to jagirdars of the Deccan region. Deccan region here means southern part of India. They became staunch enemies of English and the leaders of the uprising. Point number 7, poverty and famine. With the collapse of the Indian economy, there was widespread poverty among the masses. In addition to this, there were severe famines. Famine means extreme scarcity of food, which crippled the life and economy of people. They were so frustrated with their economic condition that they thought their lot would improve only after the British left India. Economic decline of peasantry. Through the permanent settlement of 1793 AD, introduced in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, the zamindar was supposed to collect the land revenue. He was authorized to eject a peasant for the non-payment of revenue. In the south, the British revenue collectors were even more harsh towards the peasants. They claimed more than half the produce as land revenue. The poor cultivator was forced to borrow money from the landlord or moneylender at a heavy rate of interest. The peasants held the British responsible for their poverty in India. Page number 69, point number 8, economic decline of peasantry. The peasants were discontent with the official land revenue policy and the consequent loss of their land. Peasant, a person who owns or rents a small piece of land on which he or she grows food. In fact, it was the peasantry that bore the heavy burden of taxes to provide money for the trade of the company, the cost of administration and the wars of British expansion in India. For example, in Bengal, the land revenue was double the amount collected under the Mughals. Not even a part of this revenue was spent on the development of agriculture or welfare of the cultivators. Increase in land revenue forced many peasants into indebtedness. Indebtedness means the condition of owing money. The traditional zamindars were replaced by merchants and moneylenders. These new landowners had no concern for the peasants. They pushed rents to exorbitant levels and evicted their tenants in case of non-payment. Exorbitant means something much more expensive than it should be. The economic decline of the peasants affected cultivation and led to many famines. Okay, children, so this is it for the day. Let us see the objectives that we have covered in our today's class. We have studied about various social as well as economic causes that led to the revolt of 1857. Do the reading of pages 66 till 69 and solve the related back questions. Follow the school YouTube link. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.